We'll just go, we hear you, but we don't understand.
I'll go through this and look at it. I'm not aware of the particulars of this.
Did not expect that. Literally, more changes by didn't tell me that it was
Better be a short meeting. Sorry, we have to close. Commissioner.
yeah, I literally was like, I'm dressing down today. We're like, it's so funny.
Right, just wanting a recognition of this. Take a look. And I'll look at the development agreement and take it to the board. We acknowledge that the interests were different. You look at property, and you got a development agreement here. We gave you some sticks, you gave us some sticks, and we just got to figure out what to do. There's one before this is with RD, and there's a recorded easement. And that's another stick. Okay. But again, we can't get the council to do anything.
Yeah, I think. You want to do something?
You been one of these before? Huh?
Are we ready to go?
Yeah, we can start here. Got the microphone and the recorder. To be set there.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to welcome you to our Planning Commission meeting this evening, November 26, 2024. We're appreciative to have you here, and we welcome everybody on this Thanksgiving week and hope you all have a happy Thanksgiving. We'll commence our meeting today by having an invocation by Commissioner Scott Thompson, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Ryan Doan.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we're so grateful for the opportunity we have to gather together this evening as Planning Commission and members of the community. We're grateful for our city and for the care that the city employees give to make our lives better. We're grateful for this great country and this state that provides us such a great place to live. Now, as we're about to begin this meeting, we ask that thy spirit may be with us, spirit of discernment, so you may be able to make choices that are in the best interest of the city. And we say these things now in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
The audience, please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you. We would like to start our meeting with a roll call of commissioners. We would like to excuse our chairperson, Steve Johnson, who is not with us tonight. Scott Thompson.
Here.
Jared Showers.
Here.
Karen Danielson.
Here.
Sharon Call.
Here.
Mike Marchbanks, I believe, is not with us this evening. Mike, let's see, Rob Callis here. Did I get everybody?
Ryan
Ryan
Doan.
Doan.
Ryan, oh, didn't I call your name Ryan?
No.
Ryan Doan.
Here.
Okay, thank you very much, Ryan. Appreciate that. We'd like to approve our minutes of our last meeting. A copy of those minutes have been provided to the commission in advance for review. Has everybody had a chance to review those, and are there any changes or comments to those minutes?
Look good.
Look good?
They look great.
I need a motion to approve the minutes then.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Do I have a second?
Those minutes.
Sharon? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Before we commence our meeting, we always have a short period for public comment. This is a time when we open it up to the public who are here tonight to bring up any items or questions that they have that are not on the agenda. If they're on the agenda, we will cover them later. But if they are not on the agenda, we'd invite you to come forward and present them or ask them.
So, ours is not on the agenda.
Please state your names for the record.
My name is Jim Anderson, and this is Mel Olson.
Hi, how are you?
And the topic we want to talk about is I'm purchasing a property from Mel, and there's an access road that's been there since Mel bought the property back in 2002. And there's actually two access roads. The fire department's always gone through the main access road that has an easement that he got.
Would you refresh, where is this at now?
It's up on the
Teton
hill.
Drive.
I'm the guy that owns the property by the horse staging area, the one with all the Christmas lights already on.
Up on the hill.
They sometimes refer to me as the crazy old man on the hill. Okay. I'm
Britton, I don't know if you
My
can.
name's
pull it.
Mel.
I don't know you by that name.
And I purchased this property prior to the city buying the horse staging area. And if I could, I'd like to give each of you a sheet of paper that outlines what we're talking about. I don't know if I gave enough there or not. This is kind of a history of what's occurred up there. And the situation is now we're selling our property and the Andersons want to purchase it. And I go through kind of a history here. Prior to the city purchasing the area that's now the horse staging area, I purchased the lot next to it. When I did, I said, I'll be landlocked. Okay, I'm up here, I don't have a way to get up here. So I negotiated for an access easement across the property that's now owned by the city, and it's recorded on the deed. Your deed for that property has an access easement for me to go across that property. And that was recorded. Yeah, there's our property, and we're talking about the upper road that goes down to the gate, and you see how it goes through my property and then goes to the dirt road, and it goes up to water tanks. Every morning, and some other times also, the city crosses our property to go chlorinate and put chemicals in the water up there on the hill and to check on it. They come across, I know them, we wave at each other and talk to each other regularly. But anyway, I purchased that property and an easement across this property. Since then, the house that's built there, I got a permit in 2004 and built the lower level and a pavilion on top. We lived a couple blocks away. Well, our house is actually down there on the map where we used to live. And I got a permit from the city, had proper inspections, got occupancy, and all I did was pave that upper driveway where the city had graded it. I didn't grade it. I just put pavement on where the city had graded it. You see, my driveway is about the same as the width of theirs going up to the water tank. So I paved the part on my driveway at that time. The city gave me occupancy, approved the final, approved my driveway as it was. It's 12 feet wide. Then in 2012, I got another permit from the city to turn that pavilion into a home, okay? And we converted it. I added the little nose out in front and put a second level on it. And I had a permit. And the city approved it, we went through all the inspections. I got occupancy December 26, 2012. And it was all approved with that driveway at 12 feet, okay? Then in 2020, I decided to put the roundabout up there because the UPS truck couldn't turn around up there. So I got with the UPS guy, we went down below and he did a U-turn and we measured the diameter of his turn. My roundabout up there is made for a UPS truck, okay? I did that in 2020, that's the main thing I did, was put that roundabout in, but I paved it up to the street and I put new asphalt on it at that time. So that asphalt now is only 4 years old. I put it in 2020, summer of 2020. At the same time, I came to the city and got another permit. This is my third one with the city, to do an access approach down there on the sidewalk down on Teton Drive. The city has assigned me 2 addresses for this property. I have 134 North 1200 East, which is this road, and the city assigned me 1251 Teton Drive, which is this one. So I have 2 addresses on the city records, those 2 addresses. So I decided that I would bring that access down to Teton Drive so I could make it prettier, because the city's property, frankly, is ugly. Okay, they stack dirt, they stack asphalt, there's trash up there, and there's horse trailers. There's a lot of stuff. So what I do now, I have 2 gates. When I have big trucks come in, if I bring a semi in or something like that, I come in that upper gate, the old gate, and they come up and they get through fine, and we're okay. Well, anyway, in 2020, I got a permit, put a bond up with the city, and I put in that approach down there on Teton Drive. When the inspector came out this time to inspect the approach, I didn't have a driveway in yet. I said, now, I was thinking about, the angle of attack going up my hill. I said, now, what are your requirements about my angle, going up, the degrees of angle to go up that driveway? And the inspector told me, and this is almost an exact quote, "We don't care what you do on the other side of the driveway on your property. You can do whatever you want over there." That's what he said. So he wouldn't tell me what to do on that driveway. So I paved it the same width as the other driveway, except you'll see at the corner, I made it wide enough for 2 cars to pass going each direction. So I think it's 20 feet wide at that corner, twice as wide for passing. So now my wife and I are selling the property. My wife and I closed this afternoon on the sale. They're to close tomorrow, but they came to
You are the
talk to the-
purchaser?
Yes.
They're the purchaser.
Okay.
They came to talk to the city, and the city said, well, you're gonna have to widen all those driveways to 16 feet. And that's a totally unreasonable request, that they have to now change it just because they're buying it from me. So I'm here in support of them. I don't think they should be required to widen the driveway just because they bought it from me. I think if the city has changed their rules, and I don't know about that, I don't know what your rules are, but if you may have changed them in the last 22 years. Okay, I bought it in 2002. If you've changed the rules, that property should be grandfathered at the width that you have approved. The city has approved at least 3 different times, and you're the ones that graded the one going up above, and you did the width. I just put asphalt on it.
Yeah.
instead of
Let me
dirt.
ask staff a question. Has this been brought to staff yet, or is this the first time you heard about this?
So we have met with the potential buyers on Monday. We discussed some of the buyers' concerns or questions, and we talked about some of the existing conditions on the property. One thing that was brought up by the Public Works Department and the engineering was this roadway going up along through here. The main concern for this was that we would require that there be at least 16 feet of paved asphalt, just for fire truck access, in addition to about 24 feet of total width for that area.
Yeah, that's a requirement of a flag lot. Is this considered a flag lot?
So it should be for flag lots, and I'm not too certain if it's for like any secondary access or
Okay.
things like that, but
Let me add something here. The city does not have the code to the gate down on Teton Drive. The fire department does not have the code to that. The city and the fire department go through the upper gate, okay? They come across the horse staging area and go up the upper gate, and they have a gate code.
I
for
see.
my gate, and it opens it up. There is no reason, and I've had fire trucks up there. We've had a fire in our fire pit, and neighbors have called and said the mountain's on fire. And the fire trucks come running up, and then they radio, it's a controlled burn, and it call everything off. Fire trucks have been up there, and they showed my grandkids how they can spray their hose clear down on my lawn. But we had fun with them, but the fire trucks can and have come up. One day, the city guys going into the water tank got stuck in the snow by my upper gate, and they couldn't move. They called the city plows, the big dump trucks with the plow. They came up and went up there, plowed that, and all the way up to the water tanks. They went through there. So it's not an access problem
Okay.
for trucks, okay?
I appreciate that. It sounds like, I don't think as a commission, we can make any decisions on this tonight that, I mean, it sounds like it's something that needs to be made by staff and making sure that, you know, it meets with all the ordinances and the codes of this property.
In 2002.
Yes, whatever.
Not in 2024.
But I think, now that you voiced this, let's get with our staff and have them contact you or you them and see what needs to be done.
Well, the
Obviously,
problem is
we're not gonna
they're
resolve this
closing.
for your closing,
They're
but
closing on the purchase tomorrow.
I understand that.
And it has a bearing on them. If you're gonna require them to widen this to 16 feet and 20 feet wide, whatever that is he's saying,
Right,
then that affects their decision to purchase.
I
the
understand.
property.
I don't know how to answer that, other than you may wanna postpone your closing, or if you feel comfortable going forward with the idea
I
that you
just
can
want to start off
resolve
on the
it.
right leg with the city and
Yeah.
not cause problems and have a good relationship with you guys. And so I think we can work this out, but I really do
I
appreciate
do
Mel
too.
coming in and have the history and everything. So
Yeah.
I have faith we can work this out and come together on it.
I think we
So
can.
I think we'll go through with the closing.
Okay,
I
We'll do that.
think so too, with the history and that, I think the city will, I mean, there may be some improvements they want you to make.
there may be some things that have changed with the ordinances that, I don't know, and you're saying they should be grandfathered, but I'll leave it to staff to review and our city attorney to make help.
Yeah, this was brought to my attention tonight for the first time, and Mike is in the middle of a wedding right now, so and I gotta
Yeah.
get together with him and see what everything's there, but we'll work very hard to move this as efficiently as we can.
Okay,
And so, we'll talk tomorrow.
okay.
I appreciate it.
Good luck, thank you,
You,
and welcome to Lindon.
I hike those trails up there all the time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We then will go to our first item number 4.
Excuse me, is there,
Oh, you have another one?
is that
Okay,
thank
come
you.
up. Please state your name and,
David Gardner.
sorry, David, I didn't mean to cut you
No
off.
problem. My property's on 663 East and 770 North. And I'm not actually representing just my property. I'm representing, all of the folks here in northeast Lindon.
Okay,
I'm actually trying to bring to the attention of the planning commission the long-standing major connector road on the northeast side of Lindon. If you're aware of this, I've been working with Michael Florence and Adam Cowie, the mayor, and all of the folks at PG. And we're at a point in time where I think the public needs to be aware of this connector road and the intent that Lindon City has to move forward with the road. And the reason I'm bringing this up now.
is this something we can pull up on the screen?
663 East, 770 North. is my house, and that's a good place to start.
Give us a second here.
Yeah,
There
no
we go.
problem.
Yeah, the computer's a little bit spotty on for the keyboard, but maybe if we can,
So Lindon
You wanna
City's
point
master
to the-
plan refers to this as a major connector road.
Give us just a second, because I'm
Yeah.
not, I think I know what you're talking about, but
Yeah, I want to make sure I do too.
A little further east,
further east.
right on the
Thank
hill.
you.
Right on
This is what we call the Black Scott development when it was going.
I don't know what it was originally called. It's called the Highlands on the Ball now. Steve, do you know what it was called? The Black Scott development?
Black Scott was the developer, but it's a Highland.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is the potential road that the city purchased the land behind the subdivision to connect with 1200 East that comes around. We got MAG funds to put in an eventual connector.
That your
Actually,
cursor's
there are
on.
no MAG funds.
We've purchased the property with MAG.
Oh,
funds.
yeah, you purchased it with MAG funds, but
Right.
to develop the property, MAG has actually taken that off their list of future projects.
Okay, so we're looking at that white line as the road?
So yes, so you can kind of see, on the upper left-hand corner is my property, at the base there, and then you can kind of see the road on the furthest east where it's kind of slightly penciled in yellow.
Okay.
So,
there?
yeah, and then you can see a corner that runs into, there you go, thank you. So, this proposed road right now is coming a little bit to a head because the Millets that own the Pleasant Grove property behind, Ken Millet just passed away, and his kids, his 5 kids, are in conversations right now of possibly selling that land and developing it. And then simultaneously, those of us that actually have the properties on that development have a little bit of an issue.
Is that the curved road?
Yeah, the
And
curved
back-
road, but
back
again,
onto
I'm at
that.
the very bottom, so if you can kind of see where the subdivision starts.
Close to the
That's-
cul-de-sac?
Yeah,
Okay,
actually, no, my wife's gonna help here.
okay.
This area
We're
here.
talking this all the way down through
Thank you.
here.
So I can even walk up there and draw it for you, but, so my house
that would be
has.
helpful, actually.
Yeah.
Do we have a laser he can use to point?
So what we're actually discussing here is, this is my home right here. And if you pull up, this was sent to me by Adam Cowie, which was sent a little bit last year. But there is actually, this is a right-of-way that I understand the Black Scott development
Deeded to us as part of the
deeded to you,
development.
yeah. I don't know why this 10-foot right-of-way was included in that deeding, because quite frankly, the slope easements and the construction easements actually run through my house, literally, and through most of these houses along here. So I don't know how my house is approved to be built when there's actual easements running through the house.
Through the house or through the
Through
property?
the house. The construction easement runs through the house. The slope easement runs to 2 feet behind my house.
Okay,
And the road is the yellow line, or the proposed road is the yellow line. This is a roughly, based on the $500,000 that Lindon City spent to engineer this road, which I thought was a little astounding since it probably will never be built, is that the fact that this road can range anywhere from 65 to 90 feet wide, 2 lanes going in both directions. And you can see Lindon City's master plan actually requires that the road that's currently there be abandoned, and that the road be moved over here to this section, and that you can see on this road here, the master plan calls for Murdoch Canal to actually be moved. Right here, Murdoch Canal is to be moved to the left, and the road is to connect here, and this is supposed to be called a major connector road that connects all the way over to Orem. So the concern that I'm having is I don't think that the commissioners or the councilmen understand the impact that this future road is having, and so we've met with the staff several times to alert them to the fact that, one, this road may never be put in because MAG will not fund it. We've actually called and talked to them. Pleasant Grove removed it off of their master plan 9 years ago. And Lindon City doesn't actually own the road, enough of the road, and the Millets do not want the road currently, and Pleasant Grove currently doesn't advocate for the road. So what's happening is myself and my neighbors can't actually use any of our backyards, including developing it or, putting property on it. Personally, I was trying to put a pool on my property, okay?
I think it's important that we clarify my property versus your property, because the city purchased that property, and that yellow line is the city's property. So there's easements, and then there's actual right-of-ways. So I think it's important that we clarify that.
So the yellow line is Lindon City's property / right-of-way. That's their property. The backyard here, because of where, again, the easements are, they go through my home. So as the attorney's pointing out here, they go through my home and they go through multiple of homes. But because of where the road sits and where the easements
Just to
are.
clarify, who has that easement?
The city owns that easement. It was recorded on the subdivision plats.
Okay.
Why homes were put there, I don't know. That's an
Yeah.
issue that's outside of my purview.
All right,
But these were all recorded when the subdivision was platted.
all right.
Okay. So our concern is that this road doesn't have any funding. This is actually federal land that Adam Cowie has said that they're going to future flip-flop with the federal government to somehow connect this road. The aqueduct has to be moved. Murdoch Canal has to be moved. This is a project that Lindon City needs to be aware of so that they can understand if the planning council is gonna spend more money. The mayor's been to my house, she's visited with Pleasant Grove, and her proposal was that we just move it to the north.
Move.
Currently. Just move the 10-foot right-of-way to the north, assuming that I can negotiate with the Millets to have them do that, which that's never gonna happen.
Which is gonna happen because we're not gonna let it happen.
Yeah, there he is, right there. So, my
What was your
concern,
comment? I didn't hear it.
I said it's not going to happen because I'm not gonna let it happen.
Okay.
so our concern is that you're preventing us from using the properties all of these properties are affected, just so we're clear, all the way along from these easements for a future road that probably can't be afforded, that probably can't be in. And right now, my concern is that if the Millets end up selling their property, which is their right, that either Lindon or Pleasant Grove will strong arm the developers into giving this portion of the road upwards, and then we'll have a road going to nowhere because Lindon City can't afford to develop the rest of this. And then quite frankly, the biggest issue is it should be removed from the master plan to begin with. No development can happen further east in Lindon, confirmed by the staff, the mayor, the councilmen that we've talked to. So if no development can happen this way, then why in the world are we keeping this road on Lindon City master plan? And my concern was I was willing to actually purchase the right-of-way, which is Lindon City's property, which was my proposal to Adam Cowie and the group. And they told me that there was no solution and that I should move, which kind of bothered me. And so I started working with Pleasant Grove and finding things out. So I think those of us in these neighborhoods would obviously like the slope easement removed and the construction easements removed, and perhaps Lindon City's willingness to actually sell us the right-of-way and the land since we're taking care of it anyway. But the bigger issue would be, can we actually get this master connector road removed from the master plan? I don't think anybody in Lindon wants to pay for that, and
Okay.
I'm not sure there's a need for it.
Well, like the first item, this is something that we can now consider and talk about, and with our city attorney, with the staff, and planning commission, we'll get Adam involved, and we can kind of get back to you and see if we need to put it on our agenda for the planning commission if we need to. Let me ask you one question. When the easement was recorded, these were vacant lots? So when you guys bought these homes, the easement was recorded?
Partially. The construction easements were not recorded on the deeds. The slope easements were. But the attorney's right, on the development plan, the easements were all recorded correctly. But those of us on that north end, the construction easements were not recorded.
Okay.
So there is an argument that the title companies are
Just wanted to
responsible,
know, not
but
that,
yeah.
yeah, okay.
Also, you can understand those of us that purchased are probably looking at that road thinking it's never gonna be put in.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's a 2-lane road with, I think the estimation to just move the road to where, from my corner of my house to Murdoch Canal, according to the city, was around $50 million.
We'll need to take that up with the planning department and, discuss that, and, I don't know that we can make that
I think
decision.
it's also important to understand that this road is supposed to run all the way to the freeway, right, down through State Street. And it's also important to note that the other portions of this road that Lindon City and Pleasant Grove have tried to connect have also been denied funding 3 separate times. So the
Okay.
Planning Commission's probably aware of that. So there's a lot of concern that if you can't even get what feels like the straight road easements taken care of, why I guess the other concern is, why are we creating this connector road when one who's really gonna service is Pleasant Grove and Orem? Those are the residents that it feels like are actually gonna be used in this, because the way that it's currently planned is there's no outlet all the way over to the Orem Road that it connects to. So it feels like we're moving traffic from Pleasant Grove to Orem. How does it help
Not
Linden
servicing the homes in Linden
cities?
is what
Yeah.
you're saying, okay.
How close can you build a house to a major road like that? Is there an easement?
The setback.
What was that question?
How close, cause my house is on the back property too, and I'm probably within.
You back on it?
10 feet from the property line where the city bought the previous owner 12 feet off of it. I mean, I don't see a house, a road being 12 feet off the back corner of my house.
Yeah, obviously.
Now, I'm
better
I'm a
than
little
2
bit
feet.
around the corner. What?
Said it's better than 2 feet.
No, for sure.
You also have the Salt Lake Aqueduct right there, which we can't even plant a tree within
I
400 feet of
understand.
that, and you wanna dig a road?
That's why it's so frustrating, as I've been visiting with the city staff, that there hasn't been any willingness. And so I don't know what authority you have as a commission to help, or what's the process here?
The process, we'll need to discuss it with staff. Obviously, we need to get Adam involved. Maybe he's got some facts we're not aware of.
Yeah, and I think the mayor has even
And the
more
mayor
facts.
has even
She's been
more.
visiting with Pleasant
We'll do
Grove as
that.
well. Okay.
Okay.
So what should be the follow-up? Oh, sorry.
No, I'm just gonna say thank you for bringing it to our attention, though. This is,
Yeah.
I had no idea about this.
Commissioner Call,
How many of the neighbors are here that are concerned about this?
Yeah, I guess I should. How many neighbors are here, and this is just a part of us?
This isn't all
Yeah.
of them.
So we have a group all the way.
Concern.
Causing a lot of
It
stress.
All
it
concerned.
benefits none of us.
Yeah,
Like
okay.
he says, Pleasant Grove.
What's the purpose of the need?
Yeah.
Why does
Okay.
Linden wanna fund it?
Not to mention the deer those cars will hit.
Commissioner Call has a question of our city attorney.
I just wondered what insight you can provide to the planning commission. I know that there's not anything tonight we can take action on.
Right.
There's a lot of
Well, I was
history
involved.
behind this, and I'm aware of quite a bit of that.
Right.
But I just wondered if you can provide us with some insight
I was
as far
involved
as.
in negotiating with MAG and with Black Scott. That's why I called it the Black Scott, because that was the developer. And the plan was, again, as he said, the plan was to try and get a major collector that can help, because right now, we, in Linden, we have 400 north and 200 south that crosses Murdoch Canal, right? And so we had worked with PG, and we were actually kind of surprised to find out that PG had taken that off of their master plan. This was us working with Pleasant Grove and trying to come up with a way to create a corridor, and that's why MAG did provide the funds. We used MAG funds, we paid Black Scott for the property using those funds, and we recognized that this road was 50 years down this, if it's ever built. It was years and years down the road. Now we're 25 years closer to it. And time goes. And so Orem, PG had a very difficult time. And this will come out where it crosses at Locust and comes down onto our 700 right there is where it will come out. PG has just decided they're gonna stop asking for funds and they're going to connect up to this road. So we'll have a connection up to that's 400, 400 east there. So we'll have a connection up there and it will just be this. But you're right, the Millets property is important and coordinating with Pleasant Grove. So there's lots of questions that we need to ask is this possible anymore? And so and the process, but we have to go through that legislative process. We have to do the study. We have to change our master plan road
From
through
nineteen
that
sixty-eight, the
process.
master plan's from 1968.
Yeah.
So
Right, it's been there forever. It's been there for a very
was
long
wondering
time.
too.
And so these are some policy decisions that the policymakers have to make.
Right.
And I think we're in the process of gathering that information. Again, I've not been heavily involved in this, so I'm limited. I'm just going back from the history of why this was done. We talked with Black Scott about the slope easements, about the construction easements. I was surprised the construction easements didn't show up on your deeds. I'm not saying they didn't. I'm surprised that they didn't.
So how did a house get built with
That's
the
another
easement
question
going
I do not know.
And just
how-
so you guys can see that a little bit better, it's pretty surprising. I'm not making that was sent to me from Adam Cowie.
Yeah, I don't know that answer. I can't tell you that.
That's wild.
And it was only alerted to me when I asked for permission to put my basketball court in there, or I don't think anybody in the neighborhood would know.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit frustrating, obviously. So, again, the other thing to kind of keep in mind here, in roughly 1983, Lindon gave up 60 feet of that property behind my house to Pleasant Grove. I'm not sure if you're aware of that. And so,
To make those roads line up, we
so,
did get land.
so Lindon gives up 60 feet and moves the property line directly to the fence line.
Now, we
so-
moved the boundary line of the city.
You
Is-
moved the boundary line of the city. Yes.
Right.
So
I don't think we're talking about ownership at that point, right? What time did, you said
Yeah,
83 or so?
I think it's 83. So the
Yeah,
boundary line.
that's the boundary line of the city that we lined up.
Okay.
So you lined up the boundary line of the city and gave up the right-of-way to that road. And then you allowed developments to go in right on top of all of those easements. It really doesn't feel like that road has been a part of this master plan at all, or in consideration. So now we're dealing with the backlash of it. And again, it feels like it's coming fairly quickly where we're gonna be dealing with it more and more.
Okay. I think what we should do, like, is,
Go ahead.
oh,
I
you-
just
you
wondered,
have another
when were
question?
those homes put in?
I moved into my home in 2015, so they were 14, 2013, 14.
Construction started in 20.
Like I said, there's not much we can do for it tonight. So what we'll do is we will
Thank you.
put this to the staff, discuss it, and see if it needs to be put on an agenda, have you come back, and we can have a presentation on it and make some decisions.
Yeah, thank you for listening, I appreciate it.
Dave, I have one
Can
question.
can I ask a question for just to clarify, the PG is ready to punch through the 700 or the 600 north?
No, they are not. PG does not want the road, they have removed it from their master plan.
Not this portion.
Yeah, not at this
Oh,
part. We're
not
talking
this part.
down
I'm
closer
talking
to
down
Locust
further,
Ave.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's
From Locust up to, up.
right.
But they don't have the funds and it's been turned down, 'cause we have property that borders that. and
Is that
they
right?
can't get
Because
everybody
at the last meeting I was at, which was months ago, I will acknowledge that, and things change.
And part
So-
of
They
the,
don't wanna do that part, they don't have the funding, and they're not willing to buy the land, they want the landowners to donate the land and put in the utilities while they put in the road, and they can't get everybody on the same page.
Okay.
Okay.
and that road down there is making so that Linden City residents have a major road in front of their house and behind their house, and that's what you're gonna do here to us as well,
Okay.
so.
Well, thank you for your presentation,
you.
your
Thanks for
thoughts and
having me.
input.
Dave, I had one question.
Okay, go ahead.
Is
Uh,
that
y-
little piece of property in the corner there, is that trying to be
I tried to
rezoned?
figure out who owns it so I can buy it.
Does the
I'm
city
still
own that?
working
I'm
with the
trying to-
county. No, Linden doesn't own it, Pleasant Grove doesn't own it. I think Utah County owns it. I'm trying to buy it so that I can prevent Linden City from putting the road in.
Okay.
So this property that isn't purchased right here, I believe Utah County owns this corner, this little weird piece right here. That's what I'm trying to purchase.
Linden's, basically, that was stolen from us.
Yeah, that's where
Who owns that? Does
Brother
it show
Millis
us?
It doesn't
got
pull
ripped
up.
off
Doesn't pull
right
up.
here, so.
Yeah. The adjacent ones are Pleasant Grove City.
I also tried to get Mike to sell me 10 feet of his ground, so then I could just tell Linden City to pound sand too, but.
Okay, we're gonna move on then.
Like, show me exactly where the Salt Lake Aqueduct runs.
Thank you for being here. Can you leave that map up there for 1 second?
Yes.
Where does the aqueduct run?
Yeah, can you show us exactly where the Salt Lake aqueduct runs through there.
It's under that dirt road.
Yeah, I'm pretty
So it
familiar
goes
with
around
that, but
through-
some of these newer commissioners probably are not.
You can see the aqueduct on the yellow, little yellow line is the aqueduct out of the ground.
So what they wanna do,
Zoom in a little bit.
so this is the aqueduct that runs through here. If you come back here a little ways, the back of that, the road coming up Lindon through past Canberra, what's the name of it? It dead ends right here. And then you have this, just the forest road. And Salt Lake City Water and Maureen City Water bought all the land right here over the aqueduct, and you guys swapped it out. This is where the proposed highway is supposed to run, all the way back here and up, and then curve around his thing. And you can't plant a tree on any of this space for 300 feet. And there's mudslide activity and all kinds of things, and yet you guys have a $300 million road proposed through the middle of all everybody's houses with a massive highway. And everybody's saying, why has that been here since 1968? And why is it on the master plan? We all have massive easement restrictions on all of our properties. We can't plant trees, we can't put anything in, we can't build anything because of this road that never is gonna get built.
But the Salt Lake Aqueduct is not controlled by Lindon City, though.
Right, but they
That's
have the
controlled
same
by
easements and restrictions on it, and there's other restrictions that Lindon has put in place through our properties to give them access to the aqueduct. They have access from 380 north to their aqueduct, but all of us have easements through our properties to get to it. They drive through my yard every day for no reason, even though they have a gate onto their property.
Okay, thank you. We're going to move on then. We appreciate all of you who are here, and if you're willing to stay for the other items, you're welcome to. We're going to move now to item number 4 on the agenda, which is a conditional use permit for KR Therapy Massage Therapy Business. Staff presentation is Britton Corbett. Britton, would you go ahead and...
Definitely. Thank you, commissioners.
Is the applicant here?
Yeah, we'd like to invite
Would you
Kate
come up
Rogers
and
if
sit here?
they're here to
And then
come
we
up.
can ask you questions if we need to.
Yeah, so the city has been meeting with our applicant, Kate Rogers, for the past couple weeks regarding a business license application for a massage therapy business, just out of a single room in the Next by Heaven chiropractic office, which I'll show a map of. It's about right here. If you see, there's 200 North here, and it'll just be out of this room here. Now, what Chapter 5.30 of Lindon City Code requires is for those who are applying for massage therapy businesses to submit a large amount information packet of information like background checks and authorization of like their licenses of doing massage therapy. Kay sent us all the necessary paperwork for that, and one of those things as well is to apply for a conditional use permit with the city, which is why we're presenting this item today. The applicant is going to be the only person who will be working within this massage therapy business at this time, and the city expects that the business here will cause minimal impact overall to the area that it will be in, and it's actually very compatible with a lot of the nearby businesses that are here. You might know up to the north here is the training gym and other event venues. To the sides here are some other medical related businesses, like for things like lab work and the like of that. To the west is some small, or I guess to the east are some urgent care spine physician companies here. So really they would be fitting in and meshing in really well with the rest of the businesses here. But I'm here to answer any additional questions you might have about this, as well as the applicant here is.
This does require conditional use, even though it's in this.
That's right.
Okay. Let's have questions from commission.
So this will be a conditional use permit for just one employee himself?
That's right.
So you would have to come back for an additional permit if you wanted to add another employee.
That's correct. If, during our meetings, the applicant mentioned that they might bring in an additional employee in the next coming year or so, but if that were to happen, that the city would require them to go through this same process of the background checks, sending in a similar information packet, and so on and so forth.
Why are we doing that this time around, just for efficiency's sake?
Yeah, so right now, in order to allow for Kate to start and have that the authorization to be in this area, the city will require that he go through this process. And a lot of it's just tied with the state regulations that we have for a lot of massage therapy businesses, just to make sure that we aren't missing any potential steps through the process.
Okay. Any other questions by commission?
Just that,
Does the applicant have any input other than what has been presented, or? Nope. You're okay, good to go, huh? Did you have something?
now, maybe I missed this, but on the code requirements, it indicates that you're working towards a business license, but you don't have that yet? Is that?
Yeah, I can answer a little bit more to that. So before we can authorize or I guess approve of the business license, we'll need to approve of the conditional use permit in tandem with the business license. So once obtained,
So he won't be given a permit until he gets the conditional use and
Right.
the business license, and,
Correct.
okay, makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, they have done business in other cities in the past before. They're going to be starting the business now in Lindon.
Okay. Where have you operated before?
I haven't, this is my first.
This is your first?
Oh, my mistake.
All right, okay. Any other questions by commission? If not, we would entertain a motion by one of you.
I'll make a motion. I move to approve the applicant's request for conditional use permit to use the property located at 199 North, 290 West, Unit 125, for a massage therapy business with the following conditions. The applicant will comply with all massage element establishment requirements found in Section 5.30 of the Lindon City Code. The applicant will continually maintain all professional licensing with the state of Utah, and all regulation codes and ordinance of the state of Utah and Lindon will continually be followed, and then all items that have been associated with the staff report.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second of that motion?
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes unanimously.
And I would
Congratulations.
just comment that the reason I'm, okay with passing that is that we really worked through the codes on the massage establishment. We really worked through those and made those really, really tight because of some concerns with other businesses that were here in the area.
Other massage
So,
therapy businesses.
as long as you're following those, then, and you go ahead and get your business license and that kind of thing, then we wouldn't have concerns. Because those are pretty strict requirements. So, hope you can do well.
That's some good luck.
Okay, we will move to item number 5. This is will be a public hearing. It's an ordinance amendment. And our applicant is Lindon City, and staff member is Britton Corbett. Britton, would you present it, and then we'll open it up as a public hearing to comment.
Certainly. So, the public facilities zone has been existing in Lindon City since 2002. However, there hasn't really been any actual formal zoning ordinance for the city of Lindon to establish what are the appropriate uses in the public facility zone and those sorts of things related to that. And so to essentially follow suit with a lot of other sister cities around Utah, we're proposing we're proposing for Planning Commission recommendation of the adoption of this new ordinance, specifically Title 1753 for Public Facilities Zone. And essentially what the purpose is of public facilities, for those who might not know, is to provide areas within the city for land uses and facilities that are developed and maintained for public or quasi-public uses. The uses in this zone are operated for the benefit of the community and provide basic services and essential support services. The public facilities zone is also intended to both preserve land uses and facilities that have historically been used by Lindon residents as public uses and to promote future areas that provide continued amenities. And one of the big motivations for doing this now is because of the recent results of what we saw with the Alpine School District. We want to make sure that if there's any sort of changes on what happens to a public school, that those areas are still maintained as the public facility intended uses for that.
So if for example, Alpine School District decided to close one of the schools in the city, how does the city procure that property, or is it just zoned so that whoever buys it has to, is that?
Right, yeah, so so currently this will be applying for any of the following along here that either belongs to like the city, for example, or things that are intended for public facility use. And currently there's some properties in Lindon that are owned by Alpine School District that are planned to have like public facilities zones on it or areas on it for schools, but are right now zoned to be like R112 or a different related use to that. And we'll be getting into what specific lots of that are looking to be changed in the following item.
Okay, all right.
But to be really specific with what is going to be approved of tonight is, or I guess recommended for approval tonight is this list that we have here, essentially outlining what the potential uses would be for these public facility zones. A lot of these notable uses include parks, which a lot of our current public facility zones are existing parks, as well as schools and any potential city property that is for the benefit of the Lindon residents.
What is an other government facility? Is a school an other government facility?
Yeah, so for the other government facilities, we have listed, for example, things like public safety facilities or utility facilities and other things like water tanks and ponds. But there might be any government facilities that we might need that might warrant the necessity of having a public facilities zone.
Okay.
But I don't know, maybe Brian might be able to add some more context to.
Yeah, it's just definitely a catch-all in case there's something, if you know, we wanted a weather station, we wanted something that we're not thinking about at this point. We've kind of tried to be as inclusive as we can, or as comprehensive, I should say, as we can, but there's always a catch-all. Who knows what's in the future? If there's, you know, if we would have thought about a data processing center 20 years ago, we wouldn't have thought of that. Right. You know, and so that's what the other facilities is for, is if there are other future uses that.
Okay. Thank you. Well, let's open this up. I'll need a motion to open a public hearing.
I'll second.
You make the motion?
I'll make a motion, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? So we'll open this up to the public for any public comment, if there is any. We would welcome to hear your comments. If you do have a comment, please come to the desk so that you can be on the YouTube and we can get your name recorded.
Here.
Rob Moon.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good.
I know two people that know this area intimately, myself and Jared. This area up here, because I've seen Jared up there on his horses and hiking and messing around up there, and Justin. So I live basically at the end of 380 North. And
Are you talking about a specific area?
so I'm just saying that this area up here that they're talking about, that I looked at on the map, it's not easy to access, and the slope and things like that are not easy to access.
I'm wondering if we're on the same page.
Might be on a different agenda.
Yeah,
item.
I think,
Is that the, okay. So, but what I wanted to
Way
come back
previous.
to really quick on
Okay.
this was, the road that's going to go up and that area that's going in there, I was just concerned because of the traffic that it will bring.
Yeah.
And I was also concerned on this because of the traffic that it will
Okay.
bring and the disruption to the neighborhood. Not only that, then being a Realtor, my concern is
Okay.
also what's going to happen to tax valuations
Yeah.
when you start bringing more traffic and more congestion
Sure.
into those areas. That was my,
okay, good comment.
how much, what is the value of that versus the value of the people enjoying the peace in those areas?
What we're considering right now is an ordinance amendment, and did you come in late?
Well, yes, but I think I'm caught up, but I thought that I also
But I
looked
think
at the
we've
map
we've
on where
moved
this
on.
was
We're
as
not
well.
on this
Okay.
subject.
We are looking at adding a section of land that Lindon owns, and that will be in the next agenda item.
Oh,
We're
okay.
amending the app.
Okay.
There is a piece of property up there that Lindon owns that, and I don't remember, is that already zoned, public zone, or are we adding that to this map? Because
Oh,
we
I can
have,
pull
we
up
have
that,
properties that are, so let's talk about that in the next.
Yeah.
on-
So
on
I'm
the
slightly
agenda.
early.
Just a little early.
Yes,
I thought you were a little late, but you're early.
early, but I'd rather be early than late.
That's
And-
me too.
And also, just so you know, we appreciate you guys being our front line. We, you all have been elected, and we trust you to protect us.
Thank you.
And we appreciate it. So we thank you for your service. Thank you.
We'll call you back up if we want to talk about that. Back to the ordinance amendment, is there anybody that has any input or questions about this ordinance amendment that he has presented? Yes, would you like to come up, please?
So I believe, so I'm Jordan Russell. I live in Orem off of 116, so across from Miser Prep. And I believe that is what is entailed with this, if I'm not mistaken.
That's one of the properties. Is on there to be
Yeah.
designated a public.
Yes.
Again, on the next.
And you
agenda
live
item.
just across the street
Correct.
to the south?
Yes.
Okay.
So I live on the Orem side of 1600 North.
Okay.
And my question is, since it's owned by Miser and is being rezoned for public facility, with the soon-to-be expansion of 1600 North, is there gonna be a limitation on what facilities are gonna be put into place there? Because it is the road's being expanded to 4 lanes, I believe. And that's gonna increase traffic on
Yes.
both Lindon and Orem. And if it is a park, it shouldn't have as much impact as government building or
Yeah.
facility
Well,
center.
I don't know that we can answer that question right now because this ordinance is just, if you can list those things back up there again.
Right.
This is what could go there. There's nothing that's in the works right now. This ordinance would allow these things to go in there, and I don't think Mazer, I could be wrong, I don't think Mazer has any plan to close or move.
I know you mentioned the school board closing schools, and that's
Yeah.
kind of why I was
Yeah,
asking.
I understand that. That's a private school, isn't it?
It's a charter.
Charter
school.
Private school.
It's going to be something that is addressed in the next item, but we have received notice from the Alpine, representatives from Alpine and Mazer, saying that they are in accordance to the potential public facility change.
They've got no problem with that.
They don't have any, so they would continue to operate is what they're saying, right?
Okay.
Keep your fingers crossed.
Okay.
That'd be
Thank you
good.
very much.
Thank you for your input.
Thank you for
Any
coming.
others? Okay, we'll bring it back to the commission then. We need a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second it.
And all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Are there any, let's discuss this with the commission. Is there any questions or input that you have about this ordinance amendment?
So I did have a question, I guess it may be more for staff, about those facilities that are not currently public, that are not private schools. Why am I forgetting the word?
Charter.
Charter schools. And how this affects them. You already mentioned that Mazer is okay with this.
And how this would affect them is, it won't affect them unless they change their use. If they come in and say, hey, we don't want to be a school anymore, we want to now open up a shopping center there, because we got lots of traffic flow, and it's a great commercial property. They'd have to come in and file an application to change the zoning. And so the idea behind this is, hey, these areas, for the last so many years, the Lindon Elementary, the Alpine School District, for decades have been schools and public use areas. And so we'd like to maintain that as much as we can. And if we want to change that, we want that to go through a very thoughtful process about what uses we're going to put on these areas that have been traditionally public, open space areas. And so that's the whole basis behind this. And again, Alpine School District doesn't have any problem with it. Mazer has said they're fine with it because it still lets them do everything they're doing right now. It doesn't change anything that way.
And I believe a lot of the cities in our valley are
Right.
doing
And
this.
most cities do this. And honestly, it's a little bit of a cleanup too, because like we said, we adopted this public zone back in 2002. And as we're going through the code, we go, well, we need to beat this up just a little bit. We adopted the zone. We didn't really identify the uses that are permitted and allowed in there. So that's the reason we're doing it.
Okay,
So-
thank you.
I have a question on that. So if a, property is designated as a public property, a public facility property, if, let's say down the road, there was a change, desired, they could go through the proper channels as far as ordinances and changes, to that property and the application. They could do that. This would just prevent, this for an example, if Lindon Elementary were to close, that going back to residential and a realtor coming in and buying that up and developing it into residential without going through the proper channels for development.
Correct.
Exactly.
Is that the type of thing?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, good question. Any other questions or comments? Okay, then I would like to bring it to a vote. This is something that we recommend to the city council, so the motion would be to recommend. Do I have that motion?
I'll make that motion. I move to recommend approval of ordinance amendment 2024-16-0 as presented.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, we will move to item 6. This is another public hearing. We'll turn it over to Britton and have him explain this, and then we will go to a public hearing.
Thank you. Yeah, so this item is essentially going to be going over now all of the properties that are either weren't previously public facilities but have that public facility land use, and properties as well that have been owned by the city. A lot of those are, I guess, itemized. We have 2 parks at the Anderson Farms development. Some of the trail areas that don't abut any direct right-of-way. A lot of the public school properties and facilities, a lot of the public works property, detention basins, well sewer lift stations, and foothill open space towards the eastern part of Lindon. And so a lot of what we're doing right now is aligning with what we have in our future land use plan, or our future land use map in our general plan, designating the proposed areas of community facilities or open space. The purpose of the future land use map is to guide future zoning and development amendments, and the proposed zoning changes align with the Lindon City General Plan to what we know of. And so right here is what we have as our planned future land use map for the city. And we'll be comparing this with the proposed facilities that we're going to be changing for public facilities. And a lot of these will align into the public space and parks or open space here.
Which one is the new zone that we're,
The light green with the, oh, no, this is the existing, this is the master plan, right?
Yeah, for future land use, just to.
We've got a map a little further that shows the
Yeah.
proposed changes.
That's right. So you'll see on this one, for example, the future land use has the Murdoch Canal Trail as the open space and parks, but currently we don't have this in our existing zoning. So let's pull this back up. And so this is what we have, or our current zoning. Like we mentioned, that trail area is still zoned to be R120 with the surrounding areas, and a lot of the other areas that we have. This one, for example, is a property. Oh, I guess I should probably. So this property right here is owned by Alpine School District, and you can notice that it's the same shade as these residential properties here. So if I can bring your attention now to this proposed map, this is what we attached to your staff report. And I'll walk through a little bit of the properties here. Some of them are very small because of just being used as either a public works item or things like that.
retention pond or something?
Yeah, retention ponds, things like that. So we'll have, if we can, actually this will be a little bit easier if I do it this way. Okay, or maybe not. Okay, so we have a lot of things that are really small here are things that are like public works facilities, existing or previously used lift stations. This area along here is a bit of the Lindon Heritage Trail. We have the public works building right now that is currently zoned as a light industrial. Alpine area, detention pond, a park and detention pond here, as well as some of the other school properties you'll notice, some more alpine areas, and then a lot more, this is where the foothills area is. We already have a little bit of public facility designated land over here for, I believe, a well. But if you have any specific questions on a parcel on here, I can zoom into that and add a little bit more context as well.
Are there other landowners besides Alpine School District and Mazer that are up there represented in green that would have a stake in this decision, or is the rest of it just owned by the city?
So, yeah, the rest of it should be owned, city-owned
Or a
property.
water company, I guess,
There-
right?
There is the one little piece, is it called the Montessori, the one little, so right here, we've got the Lindon Elementary, right here.
If you want the pointer.
Thanks. We've got Lindon Elementary, and then we've got this little private school down here
Yeah.
too. Is that Montessori? I don't remember what the
I
name of
believe
that one.
Montessori.
Montessori. So that's the only other private one that I'm aware of.
And they've
And I believe that
responded
they're
or
fine.
anything?
I believe that they are fine with it as well. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a little Montessori parcel that's like right above that little cul-de-sac there that
Oh,
you
yeah,
were just pointing at.
that's Montessori down there.
Yeah.
Okay, I apologize. I
No, you're
didn't
good.
remember the names of the schools. But, so we've got a couple of them.
Not in
We've
the
got Mazer down
elementary,
here, got that one.
And they've all been noticed up, though. I mean,
Yeah,
this is-
everybody's been noticed about
This academy.
Timpanogos Academy. Thank you, thank you.
That's what that's one I was
So,
trying to get.
but other than that,
Is that a charter
It's a
school?
charter.
that's a charter school
Yeah,
as well.
that's a charter.
Right. So
Okay.
it's not, so technically, it's
It's not owned by
it's not owned by Alpine School District, but it is a public school.
Okay.
So that's the distinction there. It's not a private school, but it's a public school, but not owned by Alpine.
Mhm. And one other thing I'll mention just to clarify, so while we are proposing that these parcels and lots get rezoned, we aren't looking at changing any of the intended land use or anything like that for these properties. Like, for example, we have some city-owned property right here for a detention pond, but if the city were to ever want to, say, build a water tank, that would be a whole entire completely different meeting that would necessitate like noticing the people that are around that area before we were to make any builds or anything like that.
That the use was changing.
What if
Yeah,
a
that would be
retention
a
pond or
change,
something was to be sold to a neighbor? Would that have to be brought, or is staff just, can they do that?
We'd have to go through a process to sell any of those properties to
Okay.
neighbors,
All right.
and we would definitely need to go through the process of changing some zoning if it was intended to go outside of that public
Okay.
use.
All
So
right.
any of those actions would have to come through this body and the city council.
Yeah, okay. All right, anything else? Any other explanation?
Another question, what is the property west of the city park? There are two properties right there along State Street.
So the first little property on State Street,
Oh, these ones.
yeah, right there. This is the old school bus yard, the administrative building of Alpine School District. And this was a training school, a day school that Alpine School District owns that for people with
Disability.
special needs that would go and learn skills and I'm not sure they still operate that, but it's still owned by Alpine School District. So it's a little training facility.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other items there, Britton?
Oh, yes, actually, thank you. So, yeah, we'll get to that. So, anyways, to summarize really the reasons why we are doing this is three-pronged, really. The first one is to align our practices of the city with that of the general plan. And the other is to make sure that Lindon City has historically zoned publicly, quasi-publicly owned properties as public facilities, and that through this proposal, we would be continuing that practice. And then lastly, making sure that we preserve the intent of the public schools so that if any of these schools were to close or anything were to happen to these properties, that they would be preserving the intended use of these areas as schools still.
Okay. Okay.
Bob?
Yes.
Well, Is this the one that the public wanted to comment on? Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So I need a motion to open a public hearing.
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing.
Okay, second?
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now it's your turn. Would you like to come back up now? Thank you.
I guess my one concern would be is that sometimes this creates a gateway for it to be sold privately and then to be developed, or to do things that maybe are not in the best interest overall for the people who live there. I recognize it's a difficult balance to find where you say what serves the whole city and what serves the neighborhood and the area. And so, as I'm looking at the triangle, that's
the one you
the
addressed
area,
at first, yeah.
correct.
Okay.
And that area, of course, there's a great slope there, not easy to build, develop, or do too terribly much with. Park potentially, but still, even that, a little bit tricky. So, for me, who I believe in progress and I believe in moving forward, I don't necessarily see any need to change anything unless there's something specific in that area where we would say, we need another water tower, we need another substation, we need to amp up, maybe put an area in for a utility company or something like that. I'm not familiar enough with most of the other areas to speak about those. But just generically, I would say I oppose it simply because why do we need to change something when it's been the way that it has been and it serves us effectively? And that specific area is not very easy to do anything other than what it is right now, which is just lovely raw ground. So,
Did you understand, though, with the discussion that no changes could or would be made until it went through the proper channels and it was brought to the attention
I
of the
did catch
city and
that.
the
So my
neighbors
feeling
and
is, why change it
everything else?
unless there is some specific demand or there is something that is pushing that in that direction to say, is there a specific need that the city or the area, the neighborhood is encountering at this point in time, that we say, all right, let's look at that. If not, let's leave it the way that it is.
But couldn't that happen right now, Brian?
Yeah, right now, I'm not 100% sure what the zone is. Honestly, I think it's in our sensitive hillside zone right now, so it's probably can't be developed at all.
That's right.
But this actually, my opinion, adds another layer of protection because nothing can go in there without going through that process. As far as development, it's still going to be, our hillside overlay is an overlay. It's a zone on top of a zone. So all of those protections are gonna stay in there. But it's just, the reason this piece of property was included is to be consistent with what we've done in the past in putting city properties into this public facility zone. So.
Okay. Any other comments?
So I don't see that as giving an additional risk as far as that property.
Okay.
I see it as providing additional protection.
Yeah,
so
So
do
it's- people have to come to another meeting like this if there's going to be any change to that. And it would be in the public's interest to keep it public, to keep it, in fact, this whole zoning of what do we call it, the public facilities zone, that is the intent, is to make sure that it just doesn't get sold out from underneath.
I've just watched it too many times, and that's why it's on my radar.
I appreciate that.
Okay.
Yes, we have a question here. Would you like to come forward, please?
I'll speak
Thank
to
you,
that
Mr.
just a
Moon.
little bit because the city administrator talked about that particular piece. Again, David Gardner. So that corner triangle, the BLM is the land between those two triangles is owned by the BLM, federal government. So in order to build the road, which we addressed earlier in this meeting, across that BLM land, you have to get federal congressional approval, right? And so in order to get that federal congressional approval, Lindon City is changing the zoning on the larger triangle so they can flip-flop land with the federal government without one of these meetings.
No, they could not do that, could they?
I think that's exactly what the zoning is allowing it to do, is that now the city has control of that, and it is still gonna be sensitive hillside zoning, which again, you are arguing is protective to us. But now Lindon City has control of that land under this zoning to actually do that flip-flop with the federal government.
Refer to our city attorney
Well,
on
I
that.
believe they have control of the land anyway. This is just rezoning that land.
It's kind of the same reason that the Murdoch Canal is included, because again, back to our road issue, you can see that the Murdoch Canal now can have, because of this zoning change, the city has more control of what they can do with it. I loved your question prior when you said, what are other government things? Because you just gave the latitude to the Lindon City
Yeah,
to
but
make a lot of
for
changes.
example, the canal, we don't own the canal. The city doesn't own the canal.
Provo water users.
Provo water users owns it.
Yeah, but see, your zoning right here is including that canal, which is gonna give you some latitude
That
to
means
build.
they can't do anything with it.
Or they would have to stop the use of that property, the way I understand that. The canal would say, hey, we don't wanna use this as a canal anymore.
Nor a bike path, so
Then it could be
then they have to come to the
redeveloped,
city.
and it would be in this public facility zone. Am
Gotcha.
I understanding that correctly, or am I not understanding that correctly?
Let's-
Okay.
Refer to
So,
our
so
city
the
attorney.
current user would have to relinquish that, and they would have to go through redevelopment process. I think it'd be helpful to talk some hypotheticals about the Lindon Elementary School. Like, what is that zone right now? Is it residential? If the city has a chance to buy that, they get a first right of refusal. They don't buy it.
It's
Then
R120.
the developer comes in, if it's already zoned, let's say residential,
Just boom.
then, I mean, that's the legal use of it. We
Right.
can't
So
stay away
that
from it.
change in the ordinance allows the city to have
To say
an extra
this is
layer
public
before
s-
that zoning
Right.
change
And
happens.
could we be
Right.
open to the highest and best use if somebody brought us some sort of a proposal on that? Yeah, I think we'd be open to that, but it adds that extra layer for them to not just start digging ground because it's already zoned residential, and that's the legal use on it.
Yeah, that
If I'm
feels a-
understanding this discussion correctly.
That's right, and as to the land swap, Title 10 of the state code requires the city, before we dispose of any significant parcel of property, we have to give a public hearing and have hold a meeting to do that. We can't just do that, you know, we own the land, but before we dispose of a significant parcel of property, which this clearly would be, we have to, under Title 10, notice it up to the public, we have to have a public meeting, and so it's not gonna happen just.
Can you speak to the notices just a little bit? Is it within 500 feet of that property?
It has to be published, and that I really defer to my planners on the radius. I'm not 100% sure on the radius, but there is a radius. I think it's 500, but I don't know.
Yeah, so I didn't even get a notice for this meeting
Pretty aggressive and
tonight.
actually going beyond that 500 feet, depending on what the issue is.
They actually broadcast it on their website to the whole community, but
That clears that up just a little bit. I guess just on the record, you know, we
Yeah.
are concerned,
Yeah.
just like this
Sure.
gentleman,
Of course.
about that road and that land swap. Thank you.
if I may just, and correct me if I'm wrong, my thinking's wrong, but let me just use Mazer as an example. If Mazer is zoned a certain zone and they operate a school and they decide, hey, we're gonna stop doing school here, and we've got a developer that wants to put a water park here. If it's zoned where that water park could go there, we have no say. We have to approve it. We watch them and make sure their development plan is adequate, but we can't stop it. With this, we would have to bring it here and discuss it and see what other options are available.
But the top triangle's owned by the city, right?
Yes.
You gotta get a name in that.
So the city.
You wanna
has-
come up and say your name and,
Well, so I'm a property owner up by that area.
what was your name?
My name's Greg Harrison.
Okay,
My
Greg.
back is to that road.
All right.
And my concern is why do we really wanna change it if there's no purpose for it anyway? I mean, how is it giving?
Well, you never know. You never know if there isn't a purpose for it.
Well, that's
I mean,
kinda
we
just what we're
think,
asking.
we
If there's
think
no-
that
if there is a
no-
purpose, it
it'd
would
be
be
very
nice
hard to
know.
develop, but you never know. What if they wanted to put a cell phone tower? I don't know. You know, you never know.
And I was just gonna say, the reason that piece is included there is if you just look, you see all the darker green, those are properties the city owns already, and we have already put these in. This is just being consistent with what has happened in the past as well. That's the only reason these were included, those
Why
city
not the
properties.
rest of all of the east bench? Why just those triangles?
Because we
right where
don't
the
own
road
that
is?
We don't
property.
own it.
Because we don't own that
BLM
property.
private.
Right. We're not looking to put any private property into a public facility zone. That causes a whole lot of other.
And that's why the city's gone through measures, talked to the school district, talked to Mazer, talked to Montessori, whatever, make sure that as a stakeholder, they're okay with this automatically through this zoning ordinance
Makes it
being
hard for them to develop.
put into that
Academy, all those
zone.
places.
Just a second. Okay, thank you. Would you come up and state your name and ask your question?
Yeah, my name's Landon Harsh. I'm just curious, is a road considered a public use facility? And if that is the case, with the city taking this under its own purview as a public use facility, could you then use it for whatever the city deemed necessary under that public use statute without a hearing with the citizens?
Well, no, not without a hearing. Anything that goes on, and correct me if I'm wrong, we'll have a public hearing.
Right?
Yeah, a public road is not one of the uses, but public roads are allowed in all zones. So it's not changing anything that does with our road codes, the codes that manage our roads.
Yeah.
And so that's not changing with this.
Okay.
So.
Perfect, thank you.
You bet, thank you. Are there any other comments or questions? Yes.
So my name's Mike Millett, and I just want to know what the impact is going to be on that smaller triangle that's next to our property that's there in Pleasant Grove City.
In the top right there?
Yes.
What will the impact of this zone
Yeah,
change?
how is it gonna impact my property right there?
I don't know that it will, again, I'll defer, but I don't think it'll have any impact.
Depends on what the current zoning is on that property.
Okay, so what is the current
I don't
zoning
know.
on that?
Hillside, something or other.
Yeah, I think that's.
Oh, that's where that road is, right?
Because I know the
But if
county,
it was light industrial or
because the
something,
county has
then they could put light
designated,
industrial on.
the county has
That's what I'm saying.
designated as environmentally sensitive
Yeah,
area.
Yeah.
yeah, it's got that overlay on it for sure.
So I just want to know what it's gonna do for my property that's adjacent to that.
I would
Oh, I
probably
don't-
say that it's just gonna add another layer of protection because it's not going to allow any significant development of the property.
And you're in Pleasant Grove, right?
Yeah. So now there is a sliver
Yeah,
right
so-
there.
So right now, that is zoned, it has those overlays, it has those protections, but it is zoned residential.
Okay. Now,
So-
there is a sliver, if you go up to that top of that corner, there's a sliver of our property that actually comes over into,
Lindon?
it actually comes over into see that little teeny square? So go back the other way. Go back, okay, see that little teeny,
Oh,
right
that
there.
tiny little square.
That little teeny square, that's our property.
Okay.
Yeah, that is not included in this change.
Okay. All right. That's what I want to know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's a good question.
Is there a time, I mean, when you zoomed out, I'm Greg Harrison.
Yes.
It showed the road that obviously that's been in the planning for a long time. I mean, is there a time frame for that road that we know of right now?
I don't even think it's on the plan. It's in the planning or,
No, I don't think there's any steps on that.
Okay.
But they're
Like-
spending money on it. They've done engineering on that road. The
We
city.
we did engineering back with MAG money and when this was part of the regional transportation plan. And
okay.
So there was money.
Some
and
money.
I'm not 100% sure, but I believe it was MAG money that funded that study
How long ago was the study done?
in the 2000s or around 2000, maybe 2005, somewhere in that range.
I think it was just engineered not that long ago. And according to Adam Cowie, that engineering was around $500,000. And so I'm a little bit frustrated that the city is continuing to spend any money, whether it's MAG money or somebody else's money, for a project that may never get built and quite frankly is frustrating every single Lindon member along that east bench.
Yeah, that's one we'll need to address. it,
Yeah,
like
we will.
talked about before.
That's why we'll
I just feel like
discuss
this
that.
is giving carte blanche to you guys though, to use it for the road in an added layer. And I don't like that. And so I wish that each of these could be individually voted upon.
What's your name, ma'am?
Sorry, Ileana Gardner.
Oh, okay.
Instead of all being lumped together, because I understand the Alpine School District land, that makes sense to me.
But you understand they couldn't make a road there without a hearing.
But they could because it's in the plan already.
Yeah, you keep spending money on it,
It's
you
on the
didn't,
map.
you
It's
didn't
on
get
the map.
approving
It's
for
already
the
planned.
engineering costs.
And the city owns that property, and this zone change is not gonna change the ownership
Okay.
and plan,
No,
so.
but it changes your ability to control that whole green little section, which includes the road. And so it just feels like we're giving a blank check again to this road development that we really hope can get off of our
Okay.
city plan.
Well, we'll communicate that to our staff. Again, this is just something that's gotta be discussed with staff and engineers and things, but
The road's already in the plan and approved, it's on the map right there.
it's in the master plan. It's not been
Yeah, it's
approved.
been- That's reflecting the master plan there. That's exactly right. That's been there since 1968.
Any other comments or questions? Yes, ma'am, come forward.
My name is Gabriela Saavedra. I live in 980 West, and that road, I received a letter, and I don't know what kind of impact we'll have. It's right next to Measure.
Right next to Mazer?
Yes, Measure.
Let's
So
look at that.
I don't know what kind of impact we'll have. My house.
Now, did you get a letter from the state?
No, from Lindon. We send out
Oh.
notice to any of the properties that
Oh,
are
I
next
see.
to
I see.
the Mazer or to the Lindon Elementary, yeah.
I think this is just to let you know that there was a piece of property there that's under consideration. The Mazer property.
Yeah, and this will not affect your property.
Shouldn't affect you at all.
Other than it will just make sure that is going to be a school or an open space type of use unless we go back through another process. And you'd be noticed again if that was going to change.
Sounds good.
Thank you. You're getting ready to have some action around your house. I see. Okay, with that road. Any other questions or comments from those here tonight? Okay, we'll bring it back and close this public hearing.
I motion to close public hearing.
I hear a second.
I second it.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Do we want to discuss this with staff? Any comments or?
Well, it appears to me
Commissioners?
that this is a safeguard. So it's safeguards, it adds another layer to safeguard these locations for future public facilities for the benefit of the community. So I'm in support of it.
And it's not safeguard for us, it's safeguard for the public.
You guys. I understand your concern there. I think I do. But I really do feel that it is another layer of protection for you, so.
Yep.
Any others?
The point is to think of it down the road 30, 50 years, not, it's not something we're thinking is going to happen, that anything would happen with it.
Except maybe Lindon Elementary.
That, for sure. But the
Who
property
knows?
they're talking about, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Lindon Elementary and possibly the one down in Anderson Farms that they bought
Right.
that haven't built a school on yet.
Right.
Okay, so that one, once again, we're protecting that, saying this is a public facility zone. That one hasn't been built to benefit that neighborhood down there yet.
Sharon,
Just
did-
because it's not developed yet, doesn't mean someone else can
Did
just
you-
come in and
yeah.
change the zone.
Right.
Yeah.
Any
Yeah,
other
go ahead.
thoughts? Sharon?
No, I just see it as to me, it's just a protection and any changes to any kind of property would be brought to the public's notice, it would be brought to the city's notice, it would require a lot of action before any changes could be made. To me, if I were a property owner, I would be grateful for this type of ordinance as far as protecting me from potential other uses that I may not be aware of or in favor of.
Jared, any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm tracking the concerns of the neighbors here, or the people up on that side of Lindon.
Right.
And I'm actually excited that people came out and talked to us
That's
tonight.
great, that's terrific.
I'm not tracking how this ordinance and your concern are, like it's a city's backdoor way. I'm not tracking how this is some sort of backdoor way of the city to bypass the process of putting in that road. From what you've presented tonight, and again, this is actually new information to me, even though I live up in that area. I got to think some more about that, but I don't see where this ordinance is related to that issue. From what you've presented, I don't want to see a road go up there, especially the costs and the numbers that you're throwing out. I mean, those are absurd, and I just don't see how that's going to serve Lindon City residents or even northeast Orem. I mean, I don't see the need for that, even though it's on the plan, but anyway, I think those are two different issues. And so as far as my support for putting these properties into this new proposed zone, I'm definitely recommending approval for the city council to discuss this and move forward on it.
I guess does the council understand that we don't need protection from the Alpine School District regarding this road or from outside developers? We actually need protection from Lindon City. There's only one administrator that's pushing this road forward, and they live in Lindon. So who's going to protect
They
us?
don't live in
I mean,
Lindon.
sorry, he lives in
He
Payson.
lives in,
So-
Adam doesn't live in Lindon. Is
Yeah,
that who you're
so
referring to?
who's
Yeah.
going to protect us from Lindon City, which is the one that's actually pushing this road forward?
Well,
I
you're
think-
focused on the road. This
Yeah,
ordinance
I
is
think as long
not
as you
just the
hear
road.
that, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I'm
Yeah.
not seeing the
Well,
the
if the parcel-
connection here, the nexus there.
The parcel of property can be worked out in a swap to get more permission to do the road.
Yes.
I think it's a little bit of the concern. That's the connection. And if Lindon City has all the rights, owns the property, and they change the zoning, does it leave us a little more of a threat from the city doing something we don't want them to?
Yeah.
Like, we're hearing they spent $500,000, but no one really knows they
Yeah,
spent the money.
well, I'd love to hear the other side. I mean, I'm hearing what you're saying. It sounds like you guys have done a ton of research, I mean, way more than I have, but I'd love to just kind of get the other side of the facts and.
Public hearing has been closed, but I'm gonna let this gentleman back here.
Eric Svensson, I know it's closed, I appreciate you allowing me to speak.
You
but
bet.
To us as the residents, this seems like those properties up there are being lumped into the Alpine School District transfer. I get that it's a layer of protection, but why
No.
are those included? And you can tell us it's a layer of protection, but really, I think it's the first step towards furthering this road project.
Yeah, and I think a response, okay. I think a response to that is, this is not just an Alpine School District thing, as you know. This is for all property that the city owns.
Yeah, if Lindon City decided to relocate one of their public works building and that land became available, that is now being put into a public zone, rather than the legal use being whatever that zoning is currently. Is that, do you follow that? So.
Okay.
Yes, and you're putting it into that category that will allow that property, even though it's zoned.
Well,
for
that's
this
because,
slide.
yeah,
Now it can be any of those things, so say you put a cell phone tower up there, well, oh crap, now we need to build a road to get to it. Well, that is eminent domain on the
well,
city standpoint.
and that would have to
It would
come
have
to
go
a
through
public
quite a
hearing.
process to do
Correct,
that,
but this
but-
is the first step of this process, and that's why we're all here concerned.
Okay.
Well,
All right, we've closed the public hearing. Sharon has one more comment here on.
Well, I guess one of my thoughts is that I hate to see residents view the city or those of us that serve the city as the enemy to the residents. It really is not that way. You know, it is
You've worked
not.
with the mayor, and she's been great.
Okay.
That's
Public
right,
hearing's
and
closed.
I am just saying that in these situations, it's not the city's intent to come back against the residents and do things that are gonna reduce property values and take away from your properties and cause problems with your properties. That's not our intent, it's not the city's intent, and that seems to be an attitude,
Well, we've
it's
heard
not
it said,
that way,
and I don't
so-
think, you know, I think you have something really concerning you right now, and emotions, you know, I think we're all fellow citizens, and we understand we're all trying to do 50. The comments have been, or the thing has been closed, and if staff or commissioners have another comment, if not, I'm gonna bring it to a vote. You, Jared, have something you were gonna say?
I mean, I think that if you all attended our meetings more often, you'd find that we are actually really, you know, pro-property ownership. There's been a lot of times where somebody's come to us with a project that meets the legal use. The neighbors around them don't want to see them develop that, which in a way that is conforming with legal use. I'm gonna side with the property owner on that every time, not the neighbors, because that's what they bought the property for, that's the legal use, and I'm gonna side with that. And I think most commissioners, in my observation in the last few years being on this commission, they're very much pro-property owner, pro-property right. And so, and I think city council is that way too. So we are here to serve as a protection to the residents because we're residents as well. So that would be my comment on that.
Okay.
I think just for me, you know, my experience on the planning commission has been, one of the hardest parts about being on the planning commission is when something comes to us that we don't want and maybe the community doesn't want, but yet, oh my gosh, it's zoned this way, we have no authority to stop it. And so this gives us another layer of, now we have another bite at that apple. This gives us that layer, so it is gonna come back to us. That is one of the most frustrating things for me, is like, suddenly we don't have any input because it complies with the zone, it complies with the law. Therefore, if we tried to stop it, we'd be sued and we would lose. So that's where that's why I see this as another layer of protection.
Yeah, well, again.
Well, we're gonna take a vote on this, and then if you have further concerns, it will go to the city council, and we'll let you take your question up there, okay?
Well, I was just going to ask if we could exclude the 2 triangles, please.
No. We're gonna do it as staff has presented it.
I mean, that's
what's
somebody's
been
got to make a
proposed.
motion for that, but,
Yeah, I think that would be better asked to the city council, if you'll take it to that meeting.
I thought that's where we were.
No, this is planning commission.
Well, I understand, but a portion of it.
Yeah. Well, okay, I'm going to turn it to the commissioners for a motion. Do I hear a motion? And this, again, is a recommendation to forward this to the city council.
I'll make a motion. I move to recommend approval of ordinance amendment 2024-16-0 as presented. Is that the right one? Because that's the one we just did, right?
Correct.
That's
That's
Okay.
correct.
That's right.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
A motion passes, and this will go to city council, and either of these that you want to go and voice your opinions, I would recommend you do that.
And this
They
is,
may be able to consider that removal of those 2 triangle pieces if you ask. That will be something they consider. Okay, thank you. I think that concludes the items that we had on our agenda tonight. The last item is just we welcome you. We're sure glad to have you here tonight.
Thank you for coming.
You
tonight.
bet.
Appreciate you being here.
Have a happy Thanksgiving. Yeah, thank you.
this was very helpful too. Thank you.
Actually, do you mind if I do you have another copy of that? If you don't, I'm sure it'll come back.
Because we didn't know about the roads.
Well, I knew about the road. Yeah.
we've known that's on the master plan, but I've never heard a time frame that it's ever gonna get done.
I feel for you guys.
Thank you.
Zero information. So they were after meeting created before Thanksgiving at 6 o'clock. It said the reference an ordinance that is not published, nobody can see it. So what it looks like is, hey, we're gonna do something that we're not gonna tell anybody about.
Doesn't it refer you to the website?
The website has that, the ordinance is not published on the website, because it's not an ordinance, so it's all public, private. The only way to get information is to go over here. Have we closed?
That's.
To close the meeting.
We're still in our meeting. Could we move forward?
Thank you. Thank you
Okay.
for that suggestion.
We're going to continue with our meeting, so we'd ask you
Sorry, I
to.
have to continue, but thank you so much. Good to be here.
So the next item on our agenda is the planning director's report. We'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. There's
Thank
currently,
you.
yeah, there's currently nothing at this time to relay. Mike wants to send his regards. He unfortunately couldn't make it tonight because of his wedding for his son. But yeah,
That's understandable.
Yep, we're happy to answer any other questions you guys might have.
Okay.
I'd
Is
just
there
like
any
to-
questions by Commissioners?
No, I just like to, Britton, you did a great job tonight.
Thank you.
You know, this is your
That was a good
first
turnout.
long.
I'm glad Brian's here.
time
So glad
that
Brian
you-
was here.
Yeah, Brian, thanks for being here tonight.
I think anyone would have been glad Brian was here, but you did a great job on this.
Thank you,
so
that's
thank
encouraging.
And Brian, you did too.
Did you anticipate these people coming tonight?
Zero anticipation.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Like most of them came for the items that weren't even on the agenda.
Yeah, and Rob, you did a great job in the chair. Holy smokes, I'm glad it was you.
I am having, I'm not tracking this nexus between this public zone, facility zone and the road. Am I
Or the
just not getting it, or?
Yeah.
It's a misunderstanding.
I think it's a misunderstanding. I think that they, apparently this has come up. They've clearly spoken with Adam. I didn't realize that
Are we
this had
still on the
raised its head
microphone?
again, so. But we'll fill you in a little bit more on that.
Right.
Are we still on the?
Yeah, we
Yeah,
haven't
we're
closed the
still-
meeting.
We're still in meeting.
Is there any questions by any of the commissioners of staff before we close?
Yeah.
None?
I
I
don't
need
think
a
so. I just think it would, like I said in the meeting, and some of the questions I asked, like, some of the newer commissioners weren't aware of that road that is planned, that goes all along the foothills up there, you know.
I knew
and
about
clear
that,
over
I
into
just didn't know
Pleasant
it
Grove.
curved around into
I didn't know it went through
Pleasant
the
Grove.
home, like that.
Well, it
yeah.
goes all along up there, and probably you weren't aware of the Salt Lake,
See the need for that at all.
you know, that nothing can be built above there, or nothing can be, not even a tree can be planted.
Maybe when we
on
start
it.
developing the
So
west side of Mount Baldy, maybe we'll,
Yeah,
There'd have to be some
So-
transfer of land.
I think sometime it might be good to provide a little education on that,
or look
what the
at
situation is with that road, and maybe even some education on why you know, they kept talking about how the city owned the road. They weren't really aware of the easement.
They
that went
must
through
have
their
known when they bought their
properties.
lots.
They what?
They clearly, they could have known. Everything was recorded.
Yeah, but the city, when they issue a building permit, they make you put a site plan in and look at the footprint as it relates to easements and property
I have some real
lines.
questions about whether those representations are accurate or not.
Yeah, me
Because
too.
of that. You're exactly right. I don't know, and we'll have to figure that out.
Yeah, I would like to know, even though I'm pretty aware of that property up there and live close by it, I would like to know a little bit more about, as far as when it was developed, how the developer was able to develop those lots with that situation, and the landowners not being aware of that.
Yeah, it was a give and take, because we wanted that land, he wanted lot sizes.
Right.
And to get legal lot sizes, we agreed that if he gave us the road, we would put easements. We wouldn't put the road through the property, we'd put, and construction easements are temporary easements for building the property. It says, hey, we can drive across your property to get to the road.
Is that what that was, is a construction easement that went through the house?
There, in the very back of lots, there were some slope easements, and that said, hey, you're not gonna be able to
That had
build
to be a
structures, you're
construction
not gonna be able
easement.
to do things that would compromise the slope. And so, I don't know the specifics of
Yeah.
this, and we'll just get into it.
Okay.
We'll just get
Sounds
into
like
it.
maybe it wasn't communicated to the
I'd like to know
home
more
buyer.
about that, because I don't think we've heard the end of it.
Oh, no, we have not.
Yeah.
No, I
Yeah.
agree.
And so it would be good for us to be a little more educated on it, so that, you know, when these types of things come up, which I think it will again, that,
And if this had been something other than the public comment period, we would have been much
More
more
prepared,
prepared to
sure.
educate you and go into
Right.
that. But we have similar types of agreements around the city, not slope easements, but
but,
so,
Yeah.
So I wish we could educate you on all of it, but
No,
Right.
I understand that, but
yeah.
with this one, it's gonna keep
it's gonna, and so,
resurfacing.
Yeah.
taking some time to get everybody up to speed's not a bad idea.
And, yeah, and I like the idea of doing a potential, little training, for maybe like the state of like Lindon and, things like that. And if any of the individual, members of the commission, want to come in, Mike and I are always available to walk through with any of you. Any questions you might have on the zoning map or any of the, like, existing conditions on things, we're more than happy to meet with, you individually. It's just when,
Yeah.
if we were to do like a big sort of like training thing where we congregate, we would have to make it like in like a planning commission meeting to make that
Well,
happen.
maybe just like the, you know, the hillside ordinance and the Salt Lake Aqueduct, you know, and what that means, and maybe concerning that road that is master planned for up along that,
Yeah,
the top of that mountain. That is supposed to go clear through Pleasant Grove, and I didn't realize that Pleasant Grove had taken it off their master plan.
We didn't know that either.
You didn't know that either?
Not until just recently.
And we don't even know if that's accurate.
Do you know when they took it off, or no?
I don't know, they threw out a time frame. I don't know when they took it out.
But you had heard about that, though. You had heard
Yeah,
they had.
and again, I'm not in those engineering meetings, I'm not in
Yeah.
those discussions.
Yeah,
So I'm just kind of juggling balls too tonight. I hear rumors. I hear bits and pieces. So
Right.
we need to have Adam, we need to have Mike, the people who really know those things.
Okay.
right, right. But, you know, just so we can act intelligent up here.
Yeah, you acted very intelligent today. You guys did great.
Okay.
Very, very well thought and very well articulated positions.
We need a motion to close the meeting.
I motion to close the meeting.
Second?
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Have a happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Steak.